yeah, thank you for agreeing to do this interview with us.
You're
We
welcome.
really just are loving what you're doing with the product, and we've been interviewing lots of different artists, some people who have never used the product, some people who have, and we're just wanting to we just love connecting with people, because sometimes when you're behind the scenes in a company and it's just it's a product, you kind of miss that whole aspect of actually being an artist and getting in touch with other artists. So
Right.
thank you for agreeing to do that. Yeah, so you're obviously a very late bird. You stay up really late
Yes.
and sleep late, is that right?
Yes, that
So you're
is
like a
how it
little,
goes here.
little nocturnal.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny.
Quite.
It's funny doing all these interviews in all the different countries, that we speak to people in, and all the different time zones in America, of course, and you've got to figure
Right.
out, where am I? Where are they? It gets very
Yeah.
confusing sometimes.
Because I thought you were in New Zealand as well. And I'm like, oh, there's not
No.
as much of a time difference.
Yeah, I'm glad you found us. How did you find it, out of interest?
How
I might
did
have
I
already
find
asked you
it?
this, but
I think a couple years ago, I had wanted to do outside sculptures for a long time, but I
Mhm.
just kind of put it off.
Mhm.
And then I said, oh, I'll take this concrete boot camp to a couple lady friends of mine. It just wasn't what I don't know. It didn't feel comfortable. And
Mhm.
I just didn't like working with all that styrofoam and having to carve it
Yeah.
down. And then
Yeah.
the concrete mix has a lot of fumes to it. And we didn't
Yes.
work well together. So,
Okay.
and somebody there suggested, you need to try pad thai. And then one of my friends that went, she's like, I've got some. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
But then
cool.
it took me 6 months to try it. But once I did, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I watched all your videos. I finally said, I just have to do
Yeah.
it. And then
Yeah.
I set it aside. And then like a year ago, I'm like, no, I'm just going to do this. We're going to take a year and just
Mm.
don't worry about business stuff and just start doing it. And I
Yeah.
did it. And finally, after a year, I'm
Yeah.
like, now I'm doing what I know I have the potential for, but it took a while to get comfortable with it
Yes.
and just do
Yeah.
some simple
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a bit of a learning curve, I think, with any new artist finding a new product that works very differently to what they're used to. There's definitely a bit of a learning curve. Like, we do get
Oh,
questions at the
yeah.
beginning from some people. Some people just dive right in and they just make a big mess and do, and
I'm
then learn as they
not
go
that
along.
person.
And yeah, and other people like yourself need to kind of, dip their toe in and just kind of a
Yeah.
tiptoe through, and that's fine, And we've had some people say to us, I've had a bag there for ages, I've not used it, and then when I did open it and use it, I thought, oh, it's actually a lot easier than I thought, and yeah,
Yes.
so
And once I
it's
got
quite funny.
comfortable, and then now that I work with it a lot, like on a regular basis, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
making a sculpture every day, but it's
You've
enough
made a lot.
that I don't forget how to use it. I don't forget the feel of it, I guess. And it takes a while to
Yeah.
get the feel of how quickly it'll dry,
Mm-hmm.
how much to mix at a time for what you're
Yeah.
working on. And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And I've never sculpted
Yeah.
before. So I'm like,
Oh,
this is
really?
cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I'm learning that part too. And I've never done like
That's
a 3D
fantastic.
mosaic. So I was kind of learning two things at once.
Mm.
I usually do that. I set myself up to
Wow.
learn a lot at once. And then I
Yeah.
have to keep trying until I get it.
Mm. Well, one of my favorite business mentors actually says, everything is figure outable, and just start and you'll
Huh.
figure it out as you go along. And I've tried to adopt that as much as possible, because when I don't know a new bit of technology or something happens, I go, this is figure outable. There's got to be a way of someone else
Yes.
is doing it, so there must be a way of doing it. Um, and that's why Kim and I, we are changing what artful awareness is probably going to be, because we've had a lot of feedback. But that's what we
Oh,
really want to
good.
do, is teach people who A, have never sculpted, B, who are sculpting or who have got out of it and want to get back into it and want to learn in a really fun way. Yeah, so that's kind of how these artist interviews started. We were like, let's just talk to people and find out all about
Right.
them. So I guess the first question I want to ask you is, Who
Yeah.
gave you the permission or made it feel safe to create in the first place? Yeah, where did that come
Well,
from?
probably my parents, because they always made sure I had art
Mhm.
supplies. My dad was an engineer, so I get the structured, orderly side, problem solving side from him. And then my mom, she was a librarian before me and my sister were born. And then afterwards, she would make doll clothes for us. She'd sew them from little patterns, and
Mm.
and then she would do
Mm.
quilts. And so there was always something creative going on. And so
Yeah.
I would say my parents.
Yeah. So have you always eh, do you remember a time when you actually started being creative? Was it when you were young, or did it not develop until later?
Um, I think my first memory was when I was probably 6, of actually
Mm.
making something. And I had one of those brown paper lunch bags. You remember I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember the little ones.
Yes.
And to make a
Yep.
puppet out of that, I was drawing.
Yeah.
I can remember drawing with my big box of crayons, little scales
Mhm.
on it to make a snake, and every scale was a different color. And so I do have that memory, but that was probably when I was
Oh,
6. But I was always
wow.
creating.
Okay. Always, yeah. I think most people I talk to are actually, yeah, they've always done it in some form or another, whether it was with mud when they were younger, or there's always that creativity, and I think some people go away from it for a long time and then come back to it
Yeah.
eventually. I think it's something that's always in there. Um, so I guess that was your first memory of creative expression, which was my next question. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit there. How did it become something you were passionate about?
I think it just came easily. Like it was something I
Mhm.
could do, and it was just what I did. And also, like teachers encouraged it. I'd always get little art
Mhm.
awards, and it was
Nice.
also a way to get out of writing papers. I would make a display or a poster or a flip book. How does I remember
Yeah.
we had like, even in high school, I would still do these things. Like I'd ask for permission, but I make it
Mm.
a creative project instead of, or if I had to give a presentation, I would at least have some kind of prop and visual that I'd made.
Mhm.
So I, I
Okay.
just hated writing papers. So that's how I got out of it a lot of times.
See, I was the complete opposite. I always wrote rather than drew because I was terrible at drawing. What does the purpose of creating mean to you?
The purpose of creating,
Mm.
it's being who you are. Like that's who I am. So it's like it's just being who you are. And it's also a way to slow down and just
Mm.
appreciate the process and be present in the
Yeah.
moment. That's what I think the purpose
Mhm.
is.
Yeah, I firmly believe that because I told you my background is mindfulness.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I ever sculpted with Tiya Premium was when we were living back in Wellington, and Kim, we she just sort of they just developed the product not that long before, and she said, "Come round and because I said I've always wanted to make a Buddha face for the garden," and she said, "Well, come
Yeah.
round and we'll do it with Tiya. We'll have a play." And she was such a good teacher. But at the end of the experience, I looked up and I said to her, I don't think I thought about anything when I was doing that other than
No, you
the
don't.
feel of the product. And I was like, wow, I actually feel really calm after that. And she said, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what
That's
it
what it
does. I was
does.
like, wow, that's really cool. How do you connect with your art on a weekly, daily, monthly basis? I mean, I know you've got your YouTube channel, which obviously you want
Yeah.
to put content on, and we'll definitely link
Right.
that everywhere.
That does help
Because it's such a
keep me
good, yeah,
motivated
yeah,
to
yeah.
keep making things.
Yes, yes. Um, so how do you stay connected to your art?
I have a home studio, so I have a space for it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I'm in here probably. every day, almost every day, I try to get in here and
Mm-hmm.
at least do something, either
Mm-hmm.
2 to 6 hours. But I think with having the YouTube channel to keep me motivated to keep making things,
Yeah.
and then through that, I've learned always have something in process. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
either like have a sculpture ready to work on, or have that, and
Mm-hmm.
then already have one curing, have one that's done curing, have a couple pieces that need to be mosaic. Like if I have several projects, I
Yeah.
can pick and choose what I want to do that day. And well, and
That's nice.
so if you're in the middle of a project, so you kind of know what you're going to do the next day as well. And
Mm-hmm.
that helps a whole lot. And even if it's just getting in the studio and setting things up so they're ready for the next day. So I have my plan. If I
Mm-hmm.
go in with a plan, I'm more likely to make something.
That's something I wanted to ask you actually, because I've never worked with mosaics before. I've no, we tried to do a piece with Kim and she was like, I can't mosaic. I just don't like it. um, but when you're doing a project, do you have the design in your mind? Like, do you set out the tiles how you want it to look? Or do you do it after you've made the substrate and then you think, oh, right, this would look good on this? What comes first?
I am learning. It's like I said, it's
Okay.
been a huge learning curve since I never sculpted,
Mm,
never mosaic a 3-dimensional piece. So I'm learning in the
yeah. Mm,
process how to create the
yeah.
substrate so that the pieces will fit correctly on once it's done. Like how much of a curve, how tight of a turn
Yeah.
can I take and still have the pieces laid the
Hmm.
way I want them to? But uh, most of the time, it's I have an idea, and
Hmm.
it's like I'll pick out some pieces, I'll make the substrate, and then
Hmm.
just kind of make it work as you go. like like I'll
Yeah.
have an idea, I'll have a plan, but it usually needs to be adjusted by the time I get to the mosaic part. But that's okay.
Um, how do you remain disciplined when it comes to creation? Like you've said, you're in there every day. Is there times when you don't feel disciplined to do it, or you're just like, I'm not feeling it today, or?
Yeah, there are times, or like I get busy, I'll have something else or yard work to do or something, and
Mm.
but I at least want to come in, and I always say there's something I can do, either
Hmm.
prep materials for peas that need lots of pieces to cut, and I just can sit down and cut some pieces, or just set things up so the next day I'm ready to go. Um, or
Hmm.
like with the YouTube channel, I've always got photos to edit, so I can do that too.
Yes. You're very good at I remember, because sometimes I ask people, can I use that in a reel? And if it's vertical,
Yeah,
it's really easy. And I remember asking you, and you actually made them up like perfect. I was like, I didn't even have to do anything. All I need to do is put them in a row, and it was really
yeah.
easy.
I went to graphic design school way back in the day, but so I have
Ah,
Corel Draw, so I can photo edit and fix things up and put some text
yes.
on it. Very simple, but
Hmm.
it helped.
Um, yeah, yeah, it does. It does. Do you have any rituals around making art? Is there music you listen to, or something you have to do to get into the mentality of what you're going to do that day?
I think for me, it's more just a lifestyle of just slowing down, and I try to get
Hmm.
outside every day, get in the sunshine,
Yeah.
sit with my coffee, and just be present and feel the wind and
Mm,
watch the birds and just be outside.
yeah.
And that sets my day. And
Hmm.
I don't really have any rituals though. It's just that simple, peaceful, creative lifestyle. So I'm ready when it's
Yeah.
time to come in the studio.
Yeah. I always love looking at your photos of where you live looks very beautiful. Like nature would
Thank
be
you.
very inspiring for your work, I'm guessing, because it just looks so pretty. What legacy do you want to leave when it comes to your artwork? If there is a legacy,
Um,
you might just enjoy creating.
I think I enjoy creating, but I think just that people would experience that joy and peace that I have when
Mm,
I create it, if they own a piece or
yeah.
even if they watch a video, just that they would have that too would be what I'd want to
Hmm.
leave behind.
I think that's what's so nice about your videos. They do make you kind of take a deep breath and like exhale and just enjoy
Good.
watching the process. It's a very lovely. I really love your channel. If you didn't
Oh,
already
thank you.
guess.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't
um,
think it needed any talking. I was just like, I just watch the
no, I
process.
don't think it
You
does.
get to see it from start to
Yeah,
finish.
yeah, yeah. It's nice to watch. It's lovely and relaxing. Um, what are your beliefs around creativity?
I believe. Um, I guess that's who I am. So I want to honor that
Hmm.
and make time and space for it.
Yeah.
Um, else, I think that I have to overcome that pressure of performance and perfectionism to kind of like push through that and create is
Hmm.
one thing. The other thing is that creating needs to be done from a place of peace from
Mm.
both internal and external. I don't, if I am upset or having a horrible day, I don't
Mm.
create. I could prep materials, but I'm not going to actually create a piece. It needs to be done out of that peaceful place. So
Mm.
that's one of my core beliefs.
It's hard to create or be inspired to create when there's chaos. I always find
Yeah.
like I've been trying to write this novel for ages, and I keep going back to the plan of it, and then things happen, and or I'll get ill, or something will happen in the business that needs my attention right then and there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's never any huge sculpting emergencies, thank goodness, because coming from my background of being a nurse, there was always chaos, always
Right.
maelstrom of chaos surrounding it. And I used to come home and I would need that downtime just to, there's no way I could have been creative in that time because you're literally just
No.
lurching from one thing to the other. So yeah, you're right. I think for me, it's like listening to a piece of music, like a relaxing piano music or something, or just
Yeah.
taking that time to meditate and focus on my breathing that can get me back into that space. But yeah, it's lovely to create from a place of peace.
Because I
Um,
think the artwork itself, like, can convey that. Like, it carries what you put
mm,
into it. And if I put in peace and joy when I'm making it, it's
mm,
going to carry that to other people. That's why I kind of
yeah.
guard that.
Mm. No, I like that. Do you meditate?
I don't know if you call it meditate. I just like to be outside and be present. I might read a little bit, maybe,
Mhm.
but just just be
Yeah,
present. Just
yeah,
center myself so that I can create out of that peace.
yeah. I think I used to teach mindfulness, like an introduction to mindfulness for people who had never done it before. And the first thing I always said was normally we are projecting into the future or we're falling back into the past. We're never just here,
Yeah, you have to be
taking a breath.
present.
Yeah, taking a sip of coffee, watching the leaves fall, or listening to a
Yeah.
bird, or feeling the wind on your face.
So I
We're
guess
never
that,
doing
yeah.
that. And
And
so
that's what
I
I
think,
try to do
yeah, you
every day.
meditate.
Is just be present. Just don't be running
Mm.
ahead. Don't be looking back. Yeah.
Are you ready to unlock your full creative potential? Whether you're just starting out or are a seasoned artist, understanding your creative confidence can make all the difference. Our Creative Confidence Checkup Quiz is designed to help you discover your strengths and identify areas for growth. You'll get personalised tips and insights. What or who keeps you inspired? Nature, obviously, is one of them.
Yes. Nature. Definitely nature. Um, just and nature and the process of it. I've come to realize that's the part I really like is the problem
Yeah.
solving. figuring it out, making the plan, making that plan start happening. And then I almost have to like force
Mm-hmm.
myself to finish the piece. Well, now that I have pieces
Yeah.
always in the works, I'm not like, oh, this one's over. What am I going to do next? I always have something on next. But I used to be that way. I would stall finishing something because I enjoyed that making
Yeah.
process and all that problem solving, because there's always going to be something you cannot plan for or figure out beforehand. You just have to start
Mm-hmm.
doing it and then make it work the best you can
Yeah.
and learn what you need to learn.
Yeah.
So the next piece is better and more informed, but that's what keeps me going, is just enjoying the process and new
Mm-hmm.
mosaic pieces that I want to make something into.
Yeah. And what inspired you to start the YouTube channel in the first place? Because yeah, it's a big commit for a lot of people, because they're, we our channel was never meant to grow or anything. It was meant to just kind of be a place for people to see videos and learn from them, and I guess be inspired by them. But yeah, it's like got an algorithm thing that's like you have to be posting so much. How
Right.
do you find that, and why did you start?
Well, my husband, he has 2 YouTube channels, and he's like, you need a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Um, so he made
Ah,
sure I did that. And he does I take all the photos and all the little short video
yeah,
clips, and then he has the program where you can put it all into one video, and he adds
nice.
the
Yeah.
music to it.
Hmm.
So that's his part and contribution to what
Nice.
I do.
Where do your ideas come from?
Where do they come from? From nature,
Oh, that's a
from
big
nature,
question.
from watching the birds
Yeah.
and the leaves and the bugs.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes,
yeah,
bugs feature a lot in your work, which I like. Yeah,
yes, I
that's
love
why.
insects. Yeah. I love little
Mm,
things. I've always loved
yeah.
little things, and just the design and the textures is just amazing in nature,
Mm.
especially on that small micro, the mini scale of things. I'm always amazed by it.
Is that why you got into the Artomatic work? Is that the fairly small little pieces?
Yeah, yeah. There was one here locally, and I saw it. And I'm like, that's so cool. And they're
Hmm.
like, like, I went to the website. You can be an automat artist. I'm like, okay, I'll apply. And
Mm,
there we go. I got in, and they're always looking for new artists. So I always
that's
come up with
awesome.
something that takes a
That's really
while to
cool.
make, though.
Can you suggest to anyone who might be listening, who might be struggling to connect with their art, or struggling to get going, or to start? Do you have 3 things that you could that they could do right now that would motivate them to maybe connect again with their art?
I would say first to value that you're creative and that it's important to do, because that's part of who you are,
Mm,
and make time and space for it. Um, Second would be, don't compare yourself to anyone else, and do what makes you
oh,
happy.
yeah, that's a
Find the
big one.
things that make you happy and do
Mm,
them, and don't be worried about that end result of I have to sell it or have to do anything with it. It's for you, first of all, and just enjoy the process and have fun,
hmm.
and don't compare yourself, because that'll kill all creativity.
Yeah.
When you scroll and you find, oh, they
Oh
do that, and
boy.
I'm not that good, and I'm like, no, you just do your own thing,
Oh yeah.
and don't worry about anybody else. And I guess the last thing,
Yeah.
on a practical level, is what I've found is, if you have an unfinished product, a piece around, finish it, because once you do,
Yeah.
it kind of unlocks that capacity to make something new after that. Like, you kind of get stuck because you've got all these
Mm,
projects that are halfway done, and you keep seeing them, and it feels it, without knowing it, it's giving you that defeated signal, like you never finished that. But if you go and just
mm.
pick it up, and it doesn't have to be a masterpiece, just finish it so it's done, and then you're
Yeah.
open and free to go to do something new. And that helps a lot.
Mm. No, I like that piece of advice. I actually needed to hear that today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm always
welcome.
trying to when I was coaching people, it was always about, what will your future self thank you for? Am I doing something that my future self will thank me for? That's what I keep asking myself these days, because when you get sick, you kind of get out of your practice.
Yeah.
I normally have a morning practice that I do, and I kind of disconnected from that. And then it was, oh, I can't work out. So then my mood went really low. And,
Yeah.
so there's all these things that can happen in life which kind of kick you in the teeth. And it's nice to hear that actually finishing something and doing it just for you. And I think that's so important what you said about doing it just for you, because we get so hung up as humans on, like you said, comparison, and comparison is totally the thief of joy. It will
Yes.
always bring you down, because you'll always find someone who's doing something wonderful and you'll say, I'll
Yeah.
never be that person.
Right.
Or you're doing it for other people. And when you turn around and say, no, this is just actually for me, I don't need to think about the outcome right now, I'll
Right.
just do it. And then, like you said, that piece is then infused with that peace and creativity. So yeah, I like that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So thank you for
You're welcome.
being here, and thank you for your presence, and thank you for your beautiful artwork that you share.
Oh,
And I'm
thank
glad your
you.
husband pushed you to do the
Yes.
channel.
I am too. It's really helped
Just
me
selfishly.
develop. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you get those first comments and things where people are like encouraging you, to keep going, I think that always kind of, we get some lovely emails on the daily about, wow, why didn't I have your product 10 years ago? I would have loved this. And I was like, yeah, that's what Kim says all the time. She's like, if I had had this when I was a young artist, the things I could have done.
Yeah. It really, it's amazing how much you could do with it. And it is simple. Once you work with it, it is not that complicated. And I love it.
Yeah.
It's completely different than anything else out there that people have actually used.
Yes.
And it's
yeah. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer, for talking to me and coming on camera.